Hello, I'm Paul.
I'm Adam.
And I'm Ben.
And welcome to the Film Busters podcast. The film show with no filters, no prisoners taken, loads of disagreements, but one hell of a love for cinema.
If you want to hear three friends ridiculing each other for an hour or so regarding their taste in films, then you have come to the right place.
In each episode, one of the team picks a film for us to discuss. It could be anything from a recent cinema release to an all-time classic.
So, strap in and get ready to get mad or get vindicated as we guide you through the murky world of being a film geek.
If you like what you hear, you can also find us on Twitter and Instagram using @FilmbustersPod. You can also find each of our individual accounts. I'm at Filmbusters Paul.
I'm at Filmbusters Adam.
And I'm at Filmbusters Ben.
If you want to use your eyes instead of your ears, you can also visit the website at filmbusters.pod.co.uk.
And if busting makes you feel good, you can also support us at patreon.com/filmbusters for exclusive content.
Alright, can we just get on with this now, please?
Filmbusters.
Adam, congratulations, you got tickets for Glastonbury 3 years in a row.
Oh yeah, shit. I wonder where you're going with that sentence. Yes, I mean, it was quite obvious actually from the beginning. But yeah, I did. I managed to get free tickets and going from Norwich this year. So it's a little bit more of a roundwood trek. But
well, that is a trek. 5 hours maximum. 5 hours minimum, I mean.
I think the boat takes 4 hours, I think is what they say. But I don't know where in Norwich it's from, to be honest.
Well, perhaps.
Norwich isn't that big, is it?
Well, perhaps we can check with our replacement Paul today, since she originally is from Norwich. It's Jenny who's joining us for the first Bueller episode.
Hello, everybody.
How far's Norwich from the Glastonbury? Adam wants to know.
Pretty far, to be fair. Norwich is as east as you can go, so...
Yeah.
Yeah. I would have guessed about 4 or 5 hours.
And you're going to have to stop many times for all the wee breaks that all the silly little boys are going to need on that coach journey.
I'd imagine in a more disgusting way that the bus is going to have a toilet on it. I don't know if that's going to be worth using or not, but...
Good luck.
But then you are going to Glastonbury, so, potato.
Yes. This will be the best toilet in town for the next
It will be probably the best toilet you'll have for several days.
If I was on that coach
it's
with
saying
you...
4.5 hours.
Yeah, if you left now, which is 7 p.m. on a
I'm
Wednesday
really
night.
hoping that it's a really early coach, because I just want it to be there early. You don't want to be waiting to like a 7 p.m. coach and then get there at midnight.
Oh no,
well,
surely not.
I am as gutted as I am that we'll be missing Glastonbury. I am not gutted to be missing that coach journey, because I would be like Begbie in Train Spotting, fuming at you lot for having forgotten the currents. It's fucking shite without the currents. Speaking of Glastonbury, this is the mini Glastonbury reunion. We're all back together.
Yes.
For the first time. Well, not for the first time. We've been together since Glastonbury, but here we are.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Ferris Bueller. As listeners will have heard in the last episode, this episode, I was in two minds about suggesting this film to wrap up 1986, and the reason was because it is Jenny's favourite film. For new listeners, Jenny is my wife, by the way. It's her favourite film, and I stay away from talking about my own favourite films on the podcast, let alone my wife's, but I thought, fuck it, let's do it. Let's bring her on, and let's have it out about Ferris Bueller, because although it's one of her favourite films, if not her favourite film, I've always had middling opinions on it, so it should be good discussion. And Paul, it was too hot for Paul to handle, so he stepped back. He said, I'm not even going to come on the recording.
He's run away.
He ran away with his tails between his legs, because he knew that he wouldn't be able to defend it well enough.
Aww.
But Adam reckons he can. Or maybe he doesn't like it. We'll find out later.
So I don't know. We'll go into other stuff and we'll start talking about it in a bit, I guess, because there's no point talking about it now.
No, don't talk about it now.
All will be revealed shortly, I'm sure.
Right. So what that means, listeners, is this is the end of 1986. It's been the most disjointed year, because we started the round off with Aliens, which we didn't have Adam for, but we had the lovely Jamie Russell. Then we went to The Fly, we had everyone together. Then we went to True Stories, the David Byrne film, which we released, and we had no idea that a day later it was, the 25th anniversary of that film having its premiere in Leicester Square or something like that. So everything was connected.
I think it's a bit longer than 25 years, considering you were born that year, Ben.
Correct. It was 1986, of course, yeah. So it's 37 years. Yeah, there you go.
Much of a muchness.
And now we are here with Ferris Bueller. The film I was going to suggest, if I wasn't going to bring up Ferris Bueller, was going to be something I thought might be a little less controversial, but also less talked about, was Pretty in Pink.
Okay.
Have you seen Pretty in Pink?
I think I have at some point in my life, but I can't remember.
You
I
like
couldn't
the
tell you
song?
really what happens. No.
Very good. Check it out. All the listeners are already singing it in their heads. What do you think of Pretty in Pink?
I won't
Yeah,
start
no,
singing it,
it's-
don't worry, because I don't know it.
Yeah, no, it's a pretty solid film, and actually I didn't realise that John Hughes had did 2 very good films in 1 year, so
you go.
1986 was the one.
That was the year of Hughes,
Yeah.
among other things. But anyway, it's a big beast of a film. It's a fucking huge film. We've covered some huge films this year. Normally we go for smaller, but we've gone for big films this year. So we may as well waste not too much time and start getting straight into it, really. But before we do all of that, Adam, you're going to have to relinquish quiz hosting duties.
Yeah, am I playing on behalf of Paul? Is that how we do it?
You are playing on behalf of yourself. You will answer, and I will answer. And if neither of us get it, Paul gets the points.
Yes.
Okay. All right, that's a good way of doing it.
Yeah?
I think that makes sense, yep.
Yeah.
Sounds
Alright.
good.
I didn't know if my points were more the quizzer than the quizzy.
Well, you know what questions you're asking. What do you think makes most sense?
I think the way you described it
Yeah, I
is
think it
probably
does
fair.
make more sense.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Wicked.
Well, before you ask the questions, let's just recap everyone on the scores. So at the moment, as we get to the end of the year, Paul is on 26.5. I'm in second place with 23.5, and Adam's in last place with 22. Given that there probably aren't that many episodes before the end of the year, every round counts now. So
What, we got 3 more?
maybe
Actual
3 more
films?
after this. Yeah, maybe. So
We can do an end of the year quiz.
could do. We'll see. It'll
I
all
might do
depend
like 50
on how.
points in the end of year quiz.
Let's see what happens here. And then we can decide it. So, tell us,
Right.
what's the rules, Jenny?
Well, so the rules will probably be slightly different for each question. I know typically there's usually only 2, right? But I did prep 4,
That's good.
which is a bit cheeky, I know, but then I thought maybe that might spice things up a little bit.
Yeah, do it. Fuck it, who
Yeah.
cares?
We like it spicy at the end
Normally
of the
the
year.
guests come in. Jamie came in and caused utter chaos, didn't he?
There we go, exactly. I listened
Or was
to
it
that
Julio
one.
who
And,
caused chaos?
yeah, I think
Both of them.
generally it makes things a bit more fun, so, you know, what the hell. And I've deliberately tried to go for questions that I genuinely think you should both be able to answer, but hey, we'll see.
All
Right.
And I don't know anything, Adam, even though she's right beside me.
No.
And we watched the film together. I still have no idea what the questions are. So I don't want
Just
any
remember there'll be a
allegations of being
delay.
a fix.
When I buzz in.
Well, that is true. Basically, if you say something half a second after I do, it's a tie.
Okay. Not that I win, yeah? It's just a tie.
It's just a tie.
It's just a tie. No one gets any points, basically. Cool. Right, shall I start?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
actually, can I suggest something? Rather than you shouting the answer out, Adam, because then we get into murky areas, you just got to shout your name, which is to say, I know the answer, okay?
Nah, I can't
and
be
then,
fucked with that. Just shout the answers. I
Oh,
can't
fuck's
bother.
sake. All right, come on then.
But perhaps...
Fuck this buzzing shit.
Perhaps, I think for the most part... Oh, no, actually, no, there'll be some that you probably just want to shout out, to be
All
honest.
right, go on
But
then.
for the most part, try and let me finish the question before you answer.
Nah.
Ready?
I haven't asked the quiz in a while.
Okay. Question number 1. How many times was Ferris originally absent from
9.
school? Very good.
Do you know what? That's unfair. As I knew the answer was 9, but I was waiting for Jenny to finish the question, and you just jumped in there with it.
Well, she should have gone, how many, was it 9 times and how many did you change it to?
Well, I know that is true. It could have been that. All right.
That was the bonus question for that, actually. How many
Well,
did he reduce
2.
it to?
1.
Adam gets that one as
Oh,
well.
fuck.
So that is
Shit.
2 points to Adam.
Damn.
Second question. What did the reg of the Ferrari spell?
Nervous.
Well done, Adam. Well done, Ben.
Shit,
That
I
is
never
correct.
got that. I didn't even see that.
I didn't even know that anyone... I had that as a point to bring up, because I didn't think anyone would have noticed that.
Oh, there we go. To be fair, I've watched this film plenty of times and never noticed that, but watching it this time round, it was glaringly obvious the whole
Well,
time.
because you're asking questions on it.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's spelled Nervous, which is, nervous. Lovely.
Look at that.
So that's 2 points to Adam and 1 to Ben so far.
Good.
Question number 3. Now, do let me get to the end of this before you start.
No.
And there's a condition to this question. So basically, there's more than one answer to it, and the person who gets the point is the one who gets the most, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So
Right.
there are 8 potential answers to this question. So whoever gets the
I
closest
think
to
I know
8
what the
gets
question
it.
might be.
But how do we like? Are me and Adam just talking over each other here, or what?
I think whoever starts then has to say all the ones that they know.
All right.
Okay.
And then when they run out, then the other person.
Okay.
Although, are you thinking that the other, then they're going to be cheating?
Well, you know. Let's see. Let's just play it out and see. You can decide.
That's a fair point, actually. How do we get around that?
Just do the
actually?
question. Let's just do the question and work it
Do
out.
the question.
Okay, all right. So question number 3. Name all the peer groups that Grace, Ed's assistant, reels off at Ferris's school that she says all adore him.
What?
So name all the
Okay.
peer groups that Grace, Ed's assistant, reels off at Ferris's school that she says all adore him. So she says
The English
all these
department.
Incorrect.
Fuck.
These are peers, so young people in the school. So they have the different groups in the school have different names.
I don't know I don't know the answer to any of this.
Nor do I, to be fair. I thought it would be like the teachers, the English department sending flowers. That's where I was going for. But
Wow.
I thought you were going to say that read out the names of the class that they read out before they got to the name Bueller. Because they were
would've
just
been-
coming up
yeah.
with
That'd
so
been
many
odd.
surnames that ended in A before they went into the B's.
True. Wow, okay, so no one, well, not no one actually, Paul gets his point then.
Paul can have
Well,
that
Paul gets the point.
What
What's
are
the
they then?
answers?
Yes, so basically, so like I said, Grace is saying to Ed, everybody adores him at the school. Then she reels off all these different groups of people. So Sportos, the Motorheads, Geeks, Sluts, Bloods, Wastoids, Dweebies, and Dickheads.
Do you know what? I would have said dickheads. That's the only one I would have guessed.
Yeah.
I have a feeling that she'd said dickheads.
When she said Dickheads, I was like, I was not expecting her to say that. But there you go. So yeah, that goes a point to Paul.
Fuck.
Final question.
Everyone's getting points in this.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Yeah,
that was,
no. Final question. Ready?
Yes.
Yep.
What do the students think is wrong with Ferris, and what are they raising funds for?
Pneumonia.
His kidney failure.
Yes.
His
Ferris
kidney
needs a new
shit.
kidney, apparently, so that point goes to
I
them.
was going to say lung if I didn't say pneumonia, but I knew it was an organ.
Yeah, to be fair, he has a lot of side effects of coughing, so I totally get why you said that. But yeah.
Right. Well done. That's all of them, is it?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. So that means Paul got 1 point. So he's on 27.5. I got 2 points.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm on 25.5. And Adam got
2
2
points.
points. So you're on 24. So it's tight. 27.5 for Paul, 25.5 for me, and 24 for you. There's only 3.5 points splitting us. It's all tight. That's bunched us up nicely. Very
Paul was
good.
Paul was throwing a strop before we did this that we were going to get loads of points and he was going to get none.
I know. Look at that. We are bunched up now.
There we
It
go.
wasn't really a strop. He just said, "I bet you guys are going to be in the lead."
Yes. Yeah. Paul did message earlier and say something like, I'm getting ready for Ben to win all the points or something like that.
Look, no favouritism here. I've got my questions on my laptop. Ben cannot see it.
No.
Everything is top secret.
And even if I could, there isn't a damn thing anyone could do about it because there's nobody else here but us to test that.
That's true. You'll just have to trust us.
The cat.
Yeah, that's true. Max? Where's
Maximus
Max?
knows to stay
He'd never
quiet.
lie.
Oh no, he's in bed. He's fine.
He's in bed. Very good. Well, there we go.
Very good.
That was a quiz. Thank you very much
No
for the
problem.
questions. Before we go to that bit where Paul edits in a clip from Ferris Bueller, just a very quick chance to say we've got a patron. And our patron has a bunch of bonus content where you can get extended versions of our episodes, themed episodes, end of month wrap-ups, videos.
We've never
all
done
that
an
good
extended
stuff.
version on there, have we?
No, we haven't. I just said that. This is what happens when I'm doing it and Paul's not doing it. But if you want to sign up for these non-existent extended episodes, you can do by going to patreon.com/filmbusters and you sign up for everything. Adam, what is today's patron at the end of this episode going to be?
Well, we're not really doing anything, you know, are we? We're just sitting there listening, and Jamie
We are.
Russell is talking us through his top 10 films. He recently made a list, and we sat down with him. Was it last week we sat down with him and did it?
Yes, last week.
Yes. So, yeah, it's quite interesting. Some surprise, some curveballs.
Some big films and some unsuspected ones indeed. And patrons, you can go and check that out later. But for now, let's get into Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Ed Rooney.
Ed, this is George Peterson.
How are you today, sir?
Well, we've had a bit of bad luck this morning, as you may have heard.
Yeah, I heard, and I'm all broken up. Boy, what a blow.
Yeah. Well, it's been a tough morning, and we've got a lot of family business to take care of, so if you wouldn't mind excusing Sloan, I'd appreciate it.
Sure. I'd be happy to. Yeah, you just produce a corpse, and I'll release Sloan. I want to see this dead grandmother firsthand. It's all right, Grace. It's Ferris Bueller, little twerp. I'm going to set a trap and let him fall right into it.
Ed, I'm sorry. Did you say you wanted to see a body?
Yeah, that's right. Just roll her old bones on over here, and I'll dig up your daughter. You know that school policy.
Oh?
Was this your mother?
No, my wife's mother.
Ed Rooney's office.
Hi, this is Ferris Bueller. Can I speak to Mr. Rooney, please? Thank you.
Hold.
Tell you what, dipshit. You don't like my policies, you can just come on down here and smooch my big old white butt.
Ed,
Pucker up, Buttercup.
What?
Ferris Bueller's online too.
As Ben said earlier, this is Jenny's. Is it your favourite film, Jenny?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked, Adam. So it's not my favourite film of all time, but it's definitely up there as
Would it be
my
one of your
favourites.
Desert Island films?
Yeah, depending on, it's in my top 10 basically, and I
Okay.
could happily sort of rewatch this film, so that's why it's kind of high up there. But yeah,
I think that's
not
what I like
my-
with
not
Back to
my
the Future.
favourite.
So
There we go, exactly. Feel good film.
I would have put it. I guess your favourite film. I would have always said was either this or The Matrix or Night at the Roxbury.
Yeah, thank you for telling the world my favourite film.
Why should you be ashamed?
I'm not ashamed at all. It's just I feel the need to sort of justify that why I like them so much. But yes, I've rewatched all those films many times, and if I had to pick, it probably would be The Matrix, as in the first film. But yeah, Ferris Bueller's pretty high up there.
Well, we'll
I
find
never
out
really
why
get
shortly.
into The Matrix.
A lot of
There's a
people say that.
Me either. Originally, until I watched it with Jenny.
I like all the layers to it. That tends to be why I like certain films, is when they have that rewatchability. There's always something new when I watch The Matrix.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, we're not here to defend that.
No.
We're here to talk about Ferris. Do we not need a plot summary first?
Yeah, we do. We need Adam to butcher the plot of Ferris Bueller, so why don't you go ahead, Adam?
Please.
So
please do.
Ferris Bueller is about a guy called Ferris, and he hangs out with Connor Roy. I always get that confused because I actually thought his name was Connor in this film, but his name's actually Cameron in this
I
film.
know,
so
it's very similar.
True.
And Ferris decides that today is too much of a nice day, and he has to take it off school, and he gets into loads of mischief.
Indeed he does. Indeed he does. Now, have we done a Matthew Broderick film before? I don't believe we have.
I mean,
don't think
Matthew
we have.
Broderick, he's big, but he's not like in that level of big, is he? Like,
He wasn't in a hell of a lot of films. So no Broderick. Alan Ruck, Cameron.
We did, what's her name? Jennifer Grey, didn't we? Because we did the Hated Dancing.
Very good. We've done Jeffrey Jones several times this year.
In what?
No, not several times this year. I've seen him several times this year. On the podcast, we've done him once this year. He was, you know who Jeffrey Jones is? He's the principal in this.
Yeah, the tall guy.
Yeah, he was in Ravenous, which we did at the beginning of the year with the movie Drone Boys. And me and Jenny watched Sleepy Hollow recently. That's why I thought we'd done 3. And you're right, Jennifer Grey. Yes, I'm sure there's some other people here that we've done before.
Sheen.
Charlie Sheen. We must have done Charlie Sheen in something.
No, not really. Just looking through his films now, and
I can't think of any.
No.
But
Platoon
Paul
might
would
be the
know.
closest. Did we do?
Well, if we were to have done Platoon, it would have been in this round, because that's a 1986 film also.
Is it?
Yes, it was a big fucking year for film, is what 1986 was. Anyway, Shall I do some trivia and then we can
I
just
thought
get
this film was
into-
like before Charlie Sheen was like Charlie Sheen.
Well, Charlie Sheen isn't massive in Platoon.
One of the main characters though.
Yeah, but he wasn't the star power of it.
No, but it would have been enough for people to
He
know
was as
who he
big
was.
as Johnny Depp was in it. Anyway,
Oh, I've got Johnny Depp was the line. I've got them two confused.
sidetrack. Shall I do some backstory and then we'll just talk about the film? All right, here we go.
Paul's going to be annoyed that we forgot like some bit character, like the guy
I
who
know.
drives the car or something like
Yes, Paul can add all this in when we do the next episode. It's because I can't log into the Film Busters Letterboxd account to easily
that.
cross-reference.
Paul can just edit his voice into it. And
Yes,
we'll
go
be saying,
on.
oh, that's really good, Paul. Thanks for telling us that.
All right, anyway, let's do some Ferris Bueller trivia, shall we? There's shitloads on it, so I'm not going to cover everything, but I'm just going to do the most interesting things. So, as discussed, this was written, directed, and produced by John Hughes. He made this after 16 Candles, Weird Science, and Breakfast Club, but directly before Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. He wrote the screenplay in less than a week and called it his love letter to Chicago, saying, I really wanted to capture as much of Chicago as I could, not just in the architecture and landscape, but the spirit. Hughes intended to focus more on the characters rather than the plot, saying, I know how the movie begins, I know how it ends, I don't ever know the rest, but it doesn't seem to matter. It's not the events that are important, it's the characters going through the events. Therefore, I make them as real as I can. This time around, I wanted to create a character who could handle everyone and everything. He said he wrote the part with Broderick in mind, claiming he's the only actor who could pull off the role, calling him clever and charming. He said certain guys would have played Ferris and you would have thought, where's my wallet? He had to have that look, that charm had to come through. Jimmy Stewart could have played Ferris at 15, but I needed Matthew. Anthony Michael Hall, who had worked with Hughes on 3 previous films, was offered the part, but turned it down as he was busy with other projects. Other actors who were considered for the role included Jim Carrey, John Cusack, Johnny Depp, Tom Cruise, and Michael J. Fox. A couple of very topical names in there. Alan Ruck, who played Cameron, had actually auditioned for the role of Bender in The Breakfast Club that ended up going to Judd Nelson, but Hughes remembered Ruck and cast him as the 17-year-old Cameron Fry. Ruck says that with Cameron Fry, Hughes gave him the best part I ever had in a movie, and any success that I've had since 1985 is because he took a big chance on me. I'll be forever grateful. The parade scene took multiple days of filming and took place during an actual parade. According to the vice president of Paramount Pictures, an earlier version of the film included a line by Sloane to Cameron during the parade scene where they are discussing their future that resulted in very, very low scores from young female viewers during test screenings. So in this scene, Sloane said to Ferris Bueller, a girl can always bail out and have a baby and get some guy to support her. And apparently at the test screenings, girls hated that line. And
Not surprised.
I know, but they said even though the line was originally meant as an ironic criticism of gender politics, it went over the heads of the audience, and they thought that she was...
They took it too literally.
Yeah, she thought she'd say it's like representing the worst of femininity.
Oh gosh.
But after cutting the line, young female test scores skyrocketed approximately 40 points, whatever those points means, which was the most dramatic test screening improvement in history, cinematic history up to that point. And there's some other stuff, but I think we'll just touch on it as we talk through the film if we need to.
Lovely.
So that's that. So Jenny, you brought this to us.
Well, technically you brought it to us, but I'm here.
That's true, but I brought it by way of you.
Yes, true.
I carried the light for you.
That is true.
So you decide who will tell their words first.
Who will tell their words first? I think we'll go Adam, Ben, and then me.
There we go.
Okay. So, I mean, I've seen this multiple times. Like, it's a film I know pretty well. How we were watching it this time was you watch it, I don't know, with the podcast in mind. You watch it through with a not critical eye, but I'm going to have to talk about this film eye. There is so much of this film to love. There is so much of it that has such a good heart in it. But the thing I noticed this time, probably, I've always noticed it, but a little bit more than ever, is how much of a dick he actually is. And, like, some of it is great. Like, I kind of find the bit in the restaurant is funny. But when he pushes Cameron to actually take that Ferrari out, you were like, you are just a bellend. You're like not a good friend. And I don't know why, but this time it really was like, no, that is a bit dickish. That is like proper dickish. But there is still so much of this film to love. It's so, I don't know, it is a feel-good film. I get why you can repeatedly watch it. It's got good spirit in it. It's got heart. It's funny. It's quotable. Cameron's character, is great. Like, I think watching it on this, I realised like how good that character is. He is almost the main character in some ways. He is Ferris doesn't change from the beginning of the film to the end of the film. He doesn't have any arc. He doesn't change his perspective of anything. But Cameron does, and I think Cameron's the person you're meant to go on this day out with. But yeah, I think, there's certain parts of it that just annoy me and irritate me, but at the same time, overall the film is enjoyable, and you take Ferris away, and the two of the yin and yang work.
Very good.
Yeah, very good.
Well, I don't say it very often, but I pretty much agree with everything you said.
What?
With the caveat that I think I'm not as swept away by Ferris Bueller's antics as I think the audience is meant to be. Watching it with Jenny was loving it from beginning to end. So much was clear, and I enjoyed it very much because of how much Jenny was laughing. That filled my soul. But there were many times where you were laughing at Bueller's antics, and I felt like the fucking principal, where I was like, shut this kid up, man. He's got a smart mouth. Stop him. He's so cocky. But I think, I don't know, I feel like I've seen this 4 or 5 times now. By the end of this, I think every time I've watched it, Ferris Bueller is irritating and annoying at the beginning. But by the end, he is kind of quietened down, and yes, it does become the Cameron story. And Ferris Bueller, you're right, he has no arc, but it's kind of okay because he exists as an idea that we should all embrace and like literally stop. It's so corny, but stop.
You can almost see this as like sorry to jump in, but like a Fight Club kind of situation, whereas Cameron is both a Ferris and Cameron. And he keeps flicking between them all, and he's got like Ferris is his bad side. It is his Tyler Durden, like telling him to do shit he shouldn't do, and like it's almost him doing it himself. And I don't know, that's a way of looking at it.
I'd never made that comparison, but very interesting. We can dig into that, perhaps. But I do like it. I liked it this viewing more than any other viewing, and it's ironic because I was, like you said, having to think more critically about it, and I do think I got more out of it thinking more critically about it, because I think on the surface, when you see Ferris, or when I see Ferris, I'm highly annoyed by him because he does force Cameron into a lot of situations, and I don't think that Ferris Bueller is charismatic. Every time he encounters different groups and they're like, oh, Ferris is like, why do all these kids and people idolize him so much? He's annoying. Cameron is relatable, but that's fine because it is the Cameron story. You need Ferris in order to bring out the Cameron story at the end. And also, I love all the adults in this. More than Cameron I love, but I love all the adults equally, particularly the principal. Jeffrey Jones is fantastic, so funny, so funny. And I have other thoughts, but we'll leave that for the general discussion.
Very good. Lovely. So my turn. Yes, I mean, I should have said this at the beginning. So, of course, whilst I do enjoy this film, I can see that it's not a perfect film. So I'm complically happy with any...
It's fine. You can say it is a perfect film.
No, but it isn't. But
Ben will ask you why.
Yeah, no, you're right, Adam. I've got to always explain why. No, but like it's a film that I hold dear, and it's probably because of the first time I watched it, you know, the memories that I have attached to it. But as I say, I can look at it critically, and I'm perfectly happy for other people to have a different view to me, so please don't hold back. But yeah, I mean, essentially this is a very, on the surface at least, a very silly film. You know, it's very comedic. You know, there's sound effects and, you know, silly shots and, you know, all sorts of silly stuff going on. And, you know, for just a bit of light relief, I think it delivers every time. But the truth is, why I like it so much is because, as Adam said, it's got a lot of heart. And actually, I think in terms of what the story's actually trying to say, is actually, in a weird way, kind of quite a serious message, but selling it in a very kind of playful way. And I think the fact that the film is able to do both things in one film, I think, is actually what makes it quite an impressive film. And yeah, Ben touched on it as well. You know, yes, you got Ferris and you've got Cameron, and you know, let's not forget Sloane as well. But yeah, the adults in this film, you know, are just hilarious. And I had actually properly forgotten the amount of swearing in this film. It took me aback, to be honest, because I just didn't think there was any. And then all of a sudden, people were sort of swearing left, right, and centre. It felt like, including the adults. And I just thought, yeah, this is real life. This is how people actually talk. So yeah. I do love this film. I love the message, which of course we'll talk about more in a bit. But yes, obviously a big fan, as you all know already.
Yes. Well, that's not surprising, obviously.
No, obviously.
Rather than talk about Ferris Bueller just from beginning to end, this happened, that happened, that happened, let's talk about some themes and stuff. First thing that I want to say, which is interesting to me, Adam clocking that Ferris was annoying and saying that this film is about Cameron is interesting because I feel like that's the thing that goes over maybe a lot of people's heads.
Oh, completely. So Ferris, on the surface, I think you're meant to find him annoying. He is charming in his own way, but he's definitely kind of smug and irritating. And, you know, of course, right at the beginning, the way that he's treating Cameron, you know, you could very easily from the get-go kind of think, like, what's this guy's problem? Like, leave poor Cameron alone. You know, he wants to be left in bed, which in a bed that looks like it's a coffin, you know, just leave the guy to it. Stop hassling him. So, yeah, you know, but yeah, completely. I don't know if I'd realised it the very first time I watched this film, but my view very much so is that this is actually Cameron's film. And Ferris is there to kind of move things along.
And also, the funny thing about you clocking it, Adam, is you are Ferris. And I'm Cameron.
Oh, God, yeah, that's so true.
I mean, yeah,
That's so
would
true.
dial down like a 6 out of 10 and a 6 out of 10 version of each. But yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
we wouldn't
Well,
make for an interesting film like this, put it that way. But
No.
I don't know about that, actually.
But you'd
you'd be more grumpy than unwilling.
Yeah, but like you, certainly the energy that you have, and it is funny because I was thinking it when watching the film. It was like, obviously Jenny and Adam will like this because knowing you both as I do, Jenny, you have a very positive, or try to maintain a positive outlook and perception on things. Not always, but on things, which is something that I love about you. Adam, you particularly, I noticed it at Glastonbury. I know we're talking about Glastonbury a lot, but I really noticed it at Glastonbury. You were not willing, but you were not for a second willing to like rest on laurels. You were like, we are here now, let's do this, let's do this, let's do this. And I'm like, fucking hell, man, let me sit down for an hour or something. Let me just chill before the next thing. And you're like, come on, my life is moving fast. we got to do it.
Life is short.
And
You've
I
got
think
72 hours in that place, pretty much. You can't waste a minute of it.
Yeah,
Gotta make
but
it
see,
count.
my natural inclination, my natural personality is not to be that way of either of you people. I don't have the positive outlook that you have, Jenny, and I don't have that, come on, let's do that, let's do this thing that you have, Adam. I have the Cameron thing, not to that extent, but I also think that's why I don't gel completely with this movie, because I admire it, but I'm like, it doesn't ring true to my nature.
You need
In
your
that
Ferris
way.
to drag you along through life.
Yeah, and you two are my Ferrises. You're my Ferris
Okay.
wheels, keeping me moving, see?
Just
That's
hope we
it.
aren't complete dicks like he is.
Well,
Indeed, true.
There's
Although,
that is the only thing that really annoys me about this film is like, if he was this all complete guy, he would actually care for Cameron a little bit more than he does. And I think his way of loving Cameron is to push him, but like sometimes he pushes him in the wrong direction beyond, like puts him into awkward situations rather than brings him to a situation, I think is what he should do. And I think that is the little bit, and maybe as you go older, you start watching it in a different way. You're like, that just...
yeah.
Also,
Well, that's
how
the
do you
thing-
fit all of this into one day?
Yeah, that's the thing to hold on to, though, right? These are young people and still in school, so they
The
don't
longest
know
school day
everything.
of all time.
Huh?
Oh, it's not really the school days if their parents get home at 6, don't they? Not school gets out at 6.
But what I mean is that they're still basically children, aren't they? They haven't really lived a life yet. And even though Ferris seems to have everything down and together, he's still actually a kid. So I almost think, you know, perhaps what he's doing occasionally with Cameron is a bit like crossing a line. But for me, I can just see beyond that, and I can see actually what his intentions are. And I wouldn't go so far as to say that they're 100% pure, because, like, let's face it, he's also just wanting a day off, and he's wanting to, you know, enjoy life himself. But it did almost feel for me like 90% of what he was doing was purely for Cameron's benefit.
Yeah, and I think that as the film goes on, you see that a little bit more and more. But, I think there is just times when it's a bit like, especially at the beginning of that. Again, it's going back to the Ferrari thing. It's like that is watching it on this time. It took me a while then to go back in, get on board with what Ferris was doing. That kind of took a step back of like, oh, okay, this is what he's actually like again. And it takes a while for you to swing back round to be like, okay, no, he's actually having fun. Yeah, fair play. And he's actually quite funny.
One thing that captures the perfect split of how Bueller is doing good things with Cameron but also bad things, right? Is this scene where he's encouraging him to pretend to be Sloane's dad on the phone.
Yeah.
Which is very funny. A very funny Cameron is funny, is what I mean in that scene.
Plot twist as well.
I'm Mr. Peterson.
Yeah. it's very good. But apparently it was based on their drama teacher or something, because they used to go to drama school together. The two. But he's encouraging him there, and he gets off the phone and he's like, why'd you make me do that? And he's like, come on, you were fantastic. So he's building Cameron up, but at the same time he's shouting at him for going, oh, why'd you say, let's do lunch? Why did you make out, he made it more difficult, basically saying, why did you say I'm going to go and pick her up out front of the school? And then Cameron was complaining about him making it difficult, and this is the bit I had to say it when we were watching it, because I was like, I don't get it. If he's trying to be Sloane's dad, why, when Sloane comes up to him out in front of the car, does he snog her face off?
Because it's Ferris taking the piss.
Yeah.
He knows he's taking the piss. He's like, I've got you here. Like, you're over there, I'm over here. If you came up to me, we just drive off. Like, you can't prove it was me.
It's the sheer cockiness, basically. It's like, how far can I push it?
The one thing that annoyed me in that scene, though, again, and it sounds like Ferris in that way, is when he kicks him at the end and he goes, or he pushes him, doesn't he? He goes, I didn't push you, I tapped you. And you're like, that is a little bit of
bully boy
or crease, because he actually did push him, and he's saying to Cameron, I didn't hit you, I pushed you, I tapped you or something, when he actually did push him. It's like, that's
I
a bit
hear
lame.
you, yeah.
There's like there is also no need for that in the film as well. There's like there is no need for him to just go, we just say we're joking around, or like, don't try and lie to him. But
yeah, that was the scene, I think, for me on this rewatch that kind of stood out a little bit more as being a little problematic. Because I do agree, that it was a bit mean, and it was a bit, manipulative, to be fair, in terms of how he's talking to Cameron. But I'm not saying, I completely forgive it, but I do almost think it's kind of a deliberate thing in the film. I think you are meant to kind of question Ferris's motives, and you are meant to kind of think, is he just being a dick? Is he just, using his friend because he wants to have this day off, and he basically is, manipulating him because he needs him. And I think you are meant to kind of, not be too sure about, like, what is this guy's intentions? Is he really caring about his friend? Or is he just, using him? So I feel like it's almost done deliberately. But who knows?
The bit where it clicked for me, where I was suddenly like, okay, I get it, is towards the end of the film when Cameron's sort of gone into the shutdown after the car's whatever it is, that the mileage isn't coming off the car.
It's the mileage,
And Ferris talks to the camera and he says, I only did this for Cameron, and he starts explaining it, and he says, in like a week or two, school's going to be over and we'll see each other at graduation, and then that's it. I just wanted to have this day with him. I wanted to give him the scene. It's like, I get that. I can relate to
almost,
that.
like
a goodbye, And you want it to be better for Cameron, because like he does feel bad for Cameron, because he feels bad about him living in this museum. He feels bad about the fact that, his dad is this domineering piece of shit and all of that stuff. So
I mean, the truth is, what Ferris is saying, we don't realise it at the beginning. We just think, Cameron's just a bit of a a gloomy person, but he's kind of touching on near the end that actually Cameron has kind of...
He's got it in him, he just needs it brought out.
Well, yeah, but essentially that he's as a child, he was raised in essentially a bit of an abusive household, so it's actually quite serious what Ferris is saying near the end. He's like, imagine being that child where you grow up and you literally can't touch anything in your house, Kids break stuff, don't they? And you're like, it's just part of being a kid. But Ferris is saying, like, that just was not even a thing. And you say museum, because that's how he likens the house, as a museum. It can be looked at, but that's it. Ferris is basically saying, Cameron is this way really because of his upbringing, and I essentially have done this because I'm trying to wake him up, get him out of that mindset that, this is it basically, like life's not going to get any better. So I don't think it's just a goodbye. I think it's in a corny way, it's like his last gift to him. Before they are obviously going to go their separate ways.
Yeah. But yeah. Also, I mean, I said it in the review, and I didn't really think about it until then. But it is maybe does work as in a Ferris is the Cameron inside trying to break free, and that's why he's almost punishing himself more than, I don't know. There's a weird logic to it somewhere in there that. This is a thing trying to break free, and that's why he's harsh on Cameron more than he's harsh. It's like Cameron lying to himself. But
it's a very satisfying moment when Cameron takes out his anger and his emotions on the car, though.
Are we skipping at the end now?
No, we're not. We're talking about Cameron, though, because rather than going through it chronologically, while we're talking about the Cameron character...
It makes me cringe so much. Like,
what does?
I find it hard to look, to be honest.
When he's kicking that car, you're like... Especially when you know what's going to happen, you're like, just stop it, one more, you don't need to do it anymore.
Yeah, I know. But then in a way he did, right? That's the thing. I was finding it hard to look at, but I was a little bit like, I think this just needs to happen.
I liked that because I didn't notice that the license plate said nervous before, and I liked while he was smashing it up and seeing the license plate saying nervous.
It falls
like
off.
He's not nervous anymore. Like,
does the license plate fall off the car?
Like,
as he kicks it one more, it just falls off the car.
There you go.
Does it? It could do. They should do.
If it doesn't, it certainly dents.
If it doesn't,
it dents. I don't know if it falls off, but yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
No, he's smashing up something which represents something.
Well, as he says, what did he say at the end? I'm tired of being afraid. I've got to take a stand. And he says that so much, doesn't he? It's like, I can't keep being afraid. And that's the thing. This isn't somebody who's just like, oh, whatever with life and can't be bothered. Like, he's just terrified, and that's, he's in literally this coffin bed at the beginning, and he's got all these like pills by him. I mean, as Ferris said, I think he's only ever feeling better when he's more medication, which is just...
Yeah, or when he thinks he's dying, that's what makes him feel better.
Yeah.
Very neurotic.
Very much so, yeah.
What did you two... This is one of the most interesting things in the whole film. What do you think the scene means when he's at the museum and he's looking at that painting and it keeps zooming in on his face and the painting, little girl's face in the painting?
It's just like him finding, I don't know, beauty in something. I don't know. I think it is quite as simple as it is. I think it is quite as black and white as it is. Just, yeah.
I'm asking because I know, because I've heard what John Hughes has said, but I will tell you my interpretation after as well.
See, even though I've seen this film so many times and I obviously love it, I don't tend to do that with any film actually, really. I never look into the trivia or like try and work out, what other people have said about stuff. So I haven't got a clue actually what John Hughes, his intentions were at all. I take it as it's kind of like him just looking at himself. He can see himself as this person in the painting, and it's like him almost just looking at his reflection and kind of being like, essentially really reflecting on himself and like, is this really like my life? It does feel like as the day is progressing, it's forcing him out of his shell essentially. So I think, when he's looking at that girl, it's almost like, I don't know, do I want to keep being this or can I be something different? I don't know. That's how I interpret it.
Well, I tell you, you're very close to what Hughes said. My read on it, before I tell you what it actually meant, my read on it was that in this big painting, he latched in on this potentially insignificant character in the painting and connected with it. Like I'm insignificant in this world, and there's that. However, here's John Hughes, right? So it was filmed.
You're going to play like a voice note.
No, I'll do his voice, but none of you know what his voice is like.
Is he still alive?
No, he's very much dead, Adam.
Get John Hughes on this call, from the grave.
Also, it is mad that it's taken this long to get Hughes on, because he is fucking brilliant. Anyway, Hughes stated that the scene was filmed at the Chicago Art Institute, a museum that was a place of refuge for him when he himself was in high school. Hughes said, "This was a chance for me to go back into this building and show the paintings that were my favourite. During the scene, several paintings are shown. Eventually we come to a couple paintings that show a mother and a child. Regarding these paintings, Hughes said, this I thought was very relevant to Cameron, the tenderness of a mother and a child, which he didn't have. As previously stated, at the end of the scene, Cameron is shown staring at a large painting. Hughes explains the mystery as to why Cameron stares. He says, I used it in this context to see he's looking at that little girl, which again is a mother and a child. The closer he looks at the child, the less he sees, of course, with this style of painting. But the more he looks at it, there's nothing there. And he realises that it's him. He fears that the more you look at him, Cameron, the less you see. There isn't anything there. That's him. So in the end, the museum scene focuses on Cameron's character, a struggling, motherless teenager living under the dominance of his father. So essentially it is what you say, seeing himself. But with the added sadness of seeing nothing if you look too close, which is very sad.
Yeah, the kind of being freaked out, you know, the more he was looking, the more he was like having to confront that, oh my God, you know, is this my reality? Is this all there is? So, yeah, it's a very good scene.
It is, but it's also annoying. I like the Cameron stuff, but I really dislike Ferris and his girlfriend framed in front of that like starlight stained glass window.
That's just a
kissing.
bit of
It's like,
fun.
what is that about? Is it fun though? It's like, oh, get on with it.
It's just silly fun.
I wanted them to get on
Kids
with it
being
at that
kids.
point.
Exactly. They're playing hooky.
Yeah. Well,
But fair enough.
anyway,
Yeah.
that's Cameron. Let's leave Cameron unless we have some more general stuff to say about Cameron.
Wow. When Cameron was in Egypt's land,
Oh yeah.
let my Cameron go.
That's some biblical
I was so
shit.
tempted to sing it, but I didn't.
Yeah, that's some biblical shit. Well, we can say that obviously Alan Ruck is drawn to roles where he has father issues because
Like the
between this and
outsider of the
Succession.
children, or like the outsider in general.
I thought he was great in it. I really did think he was good at this. Like he and Jeffrey Jones are my favourite part of this film for sure. All right.
Who should we move on to next?
Well, let's go to Ferris. Let's talk about Ferris generally. So my genuine question is, with Ferris Bueller, why? Because, okay, you haven't said it as much. Adam has said it and I've said it. But I feel like people are split. People probably half agree with you and half agree with me and Adam in terms of the annoyance levels with him.
Oh, I've already said that he is annoying.
But then why does everyone in the film love him? Or be like, oh, hey, Ferris, say Ferris,
Because
I
as a
love
kid,
Ferris.
I think that's who you look up to. Like, they all want to be him. Like, it's even like the one saying, oh, well, he's got me out of Sunday school. Like,
There you go.
Yeah, but
he
you say
seems to
that.
be
You say
bullshitting.
that. This
we
guy,
know it's a lot of people who say stuff to do stuff, and everyone likes them for that reason. But you know they're never going to come onto it. I know I'm not going to name drop people we know, Ben, but like we know somebody like that who, but everyone seems to love him. They seem to get through life in that exact same way. It's like say now, think later, say whatever it is to get you out of this situation, or that person to like you, and then get on with it.
That's true. Well, but then my point is he's not the typical person in an 80s film, and this is a good thing, I guess. That John
He's
Hughes
not
did.
like a jock. He's just like a normal
exactly.
kid.
He's
got
a
the
normal
normal house. He's got
geek.
Yeah, he's not a geek or he's not the fucking leader of the football team. He's just a kid who's just going through school having fun. He's probably a little bit like Bart Simpson in that way of like he doesn't really fit into any group. Cameron's his Millhouse, but they just kind of float around.
I think with Ferris, for one, I think he's got the gift of the gab. Like he knows how to turn things off and on depending on who he's talking to.
That
like how
scene
he
in the
talks.
restaurant's great. Like
Yeah. Yeah, with the restaurant, but like, you know, when he's tucked up in bed and he's got his mum and dad cooing over him and he's like me like this, like literally like a baby. He's doing that for them.
Let me just say, Jenny was in fits of laughter, right? And as anyone who's seen this film knows, that's in the first 5 minutes of the film. I was like, this guy is so annoying. You were laughing so much. I was like, I hate this guy.
We're talking about why people like him or lap it up, and he definitely has a skill. But I think ultimately the thing that people, they're not necessarily, that's the thing, I think they're not necessarily liking him because I don't think they even really know him. It's much more about what he represents. And I think a theme throughout this film for me was luck, you know, when things just seem to work out, you know. The theme for Ferris is things just work out, you know. People are just,
but you make his own luck as well.
They're there for him. I mean, he's got his own skills, but people are really actively happy to help him along the way. Other
He's
than one
living life
particular
on the
person.
edge, like.
Oh, completely. But he's living that way because he kind of goes through life genuinely thinking, like, I'm never going to be caught out. I'm never going to have to face these consequences. I'm always going to be totally fine. And that in a way, through life, actually, you know, that believing that and perceiving things in that way, you are likely to attract positive, you know, luck to yourself.
Reap what you sow, all that kind of shit.
Yeah, and I think ultimately the reason why people like him so much is because they just want a bit of that. You know, by being near him, close to him, they're kind of thinking, oh yeah, I could get a bit of that too.
Yeah.
Or at least aspire to be like him. So I don't think it's even that people genuinely like him as a person. I don't think many people even really know him, but I think they like what he represents.
He is a symbol, yes. It's about that's the only way you can deal with.
Even in the film, he's a symbol of life. Like, he's not a real person, is it? It is a symbol. And I would love to see this film, A Ferris Bueller's Day Off 2, when it's Matthew Broderick at the age he is now, playing him again, and seeing where Ferris Bueller
even
actually...
now, Broderick has that cheeky smile. Like, he's definitely the right person
can still
for
be
this
it.
role.
But, like, just to see Ferris Bueller at, what is he going to be, 60 or something?
Check this out.
See where he's got to in life.
Listen to this. Alan Ruck, Cameron, said he's always had an idea for a sequel that he wants to make, and he said, just for fun, why don't they wait until Matthew and I are in our 70s and do Ferris Bueller Returns and have Cameron be in a nursing home? He doesn't really need to be there, but he just decided his life is over. So he committed himself to a nursing home, and Ferris comes and breaks him out, and they go to like a strip club and all this ridiculous stuff happens, and then at the end of the movie, Cameron dies. And I thought, do you know what? That actually sounds fucking good.
I'd watch that.
I'd watch that.
Yeah, it sounds amazing.
But, like, I would love to see where Ferris actually got to in life. He's either going to be the CEO of, like, everything, or he's going to just be complete bummed out on his luck and, like, fucked, and then, like...
Well, that's why he works as a symbol rather than a person, because you can't... this kid's, the way he is, if you take him away from his day off and put him in school, he can't thrive, because that's not what he's about. And if you put him in the working world, that's not really what he's about.
I mean, depends what job he's in.
Well, if his parents have anything to do... Well, sales, yes. As long as someone's giving him money, he'll be all right. Because he can turn money into money, I reckon.
Exactly.
But he can't make money. Well, maybe he could. He's a bit of a con trickster, I suppose.
Well, he had people raising funds for his kidney that he didn't need.
It's true, he did. He had a singing nurse coming over willing to fuck him just because someone's paid to bring flowers over and I'm going to fuck you. He's like, what are you, a prostitute? Coming to this kid's home, he's in high school.
Strippogram, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is it a strippogram?
I was going to say, I don't think she was there to sleep with him, but anyway. But
she said, because I'm the nurse you like to, and then they slammed the door in the face.
It's innuendo. What do you think, like, why do you think the decision was made for Ferris to directly speak to the camera?
Because he's trying to tell you to...
He
thinks you're Cameron, Like, you get on and enjoy your life too.
How common was that in
Stop
films
watching
back
this
then,
stupid film.
Not very common.
The character talking to the camera.
I don't think it was very common.
It's not very common. I mean, I can think of this. You've probably got more narration rather than the actual character. Like a voiceover narration, like in Goodfellas, rather than like this in Deadpool.
But yeah, I noticed, obviously, he is talking to the camera, as in the audience, a fair amount. But also just looking. Like, there's a lot of staring, like looking, which I noticed as well.
The whole thing, yes, there's a lot of looking from at the art gallery, and when they go up the top of that tall building and look down, and when they're at the what do you call it, the stock market, and they're watching all those people when they're watching the ball game. Yeah, the whole thing is about
Also,
sitting, stopping,
why the
and
fuck
watching.
is there a massive baseball game being played? Like the Chicago, whatever the Cubs are, they the baseball team.
What, in the middle of the weekday?
It's fucking Tuesday afternoon. It's not even like
Maybe
a
that
Tuesday
happens.
evening.
I don't know. Maybe that
and there's
happens.
a parade going on. Like, what the fuck's everyone doing on a Tuesday afternoon in Chicago?
Hey, that's why John Hughes loves Chicago.
There we go.
I mean, I don't
That's
know
why
if
he
it is
loves
a
it.
Tuesday, but yeah.
Whatever
Anyway,
day
there's
it
just
is.
so many people around doing fuck all, and like I get the stock exchange because that's actually people going to work, but like the baseball game, it's like what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, but you know what? Okay, so I take that point because that is like, it's unrealistic that all these things would happen on the same day, but that ties into what Jenny just said about
the luck.
about watching, because my question connected to all this is, on a day off, why do you choose to go to a stock market at your age, a stock market, a museum, a parade, and a baseball place? Like, these are weird places to go. Well, not baseball, these are weird places to go, but the whole thing is you're not moving, you're stopping. It's like if the whole thing is life moves pretty fast, if you don't stop once in a while you might miss it. In all of those things, apart from the parade, they just sit and watch life, or stand and watch life. So that makes sense. Although I still don't really get why they go to a stock exchange, if I'm honest. Why the fuck are they going there for on a day off?
Chaos. I think it is just to laugh at the other side.
It's
I
like
guess.
a
I don't know.
circus, isn't it? Like seeing it, it's hard to even imagine that that's even a real job. But they're literally hundreds of people, like cattle, just constantly doing all these weird, crazy hand gestures to each other.
I know.
I mean, it might have just been a stopgap between something else, but you're right. I think a lot of it is about observe.
Yeah.
You know, don't just be rushing from one thing to the next. Like, and I did find it interesting, you know, and you've forgotten, I think, the restaurant, the fancy restaurant.
Yeah, the restaurant, yeah.
But it does all feel like these
Sitting
activities in particular have been chosen in terms of, like, I don't know, representations of, you know, I don't know, not the important things in life, but they're cultural, aren't they? They're like enriching. They're not like, I think most teenagers, if they skip school, they'd just go on their computer, you know, PlayStation, whatever, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
Or they would just hang out in a shopping mall and buy stuff or steal stuff. I think it's definitely a deliberate thing that Ferris has designed this day to actually almost have these kind of, I don't know, almost like life-changing, you know, experiences. Like, there'll be people in America who have never gone to a baseball game, will never know what that feels like. Same as going to an art gallery. These are things that people will be like, oh yeah, you know, whatever, I'll get round to that, and never do. Max is trying to
Max is being very noisy. He's trying to get
He's allowed
to be
involved in
noisy.
his day off.
Very rude.
Enough
Kitty.
of this.
You always want to join in, don't you?
You're interrupting Mummy's point.
But yeah, anyway. That was definitely something that I noticed.
That's a good point. It's different cultural things, yeah. With the restaurant, they have you know, foods, art, sports, business, finance, outside music. He does do all different things, which is
and
true.
they go
yeah.
to the top of the I wrote it down.
Yeah,
One of
what is that building? In
tallest
Chicago.
buildings in Chicago. Something like the 23rd tallest in the world, the Willis Tower.
And Willis Tower.
So they also go up to the top of that. To be fair, the view from that tower was not good.
No, it's shit.
It wasn't that impressive.
And it's like, oh, if you're high up enough, anything looks peaceful. It's like, it doesn't look peaceful, it looks shit.
Just looked kind of grimy, but anyway.
And John Hughes is saying, oh, this is my love letter to Chicago. It's like, Chicago looks like shit, mate.
At least
Just a
from
big
above.
American city, innit?
It
It
looks
does make me
ju-
think of the Blues Brothers a lot, though, especially when they're in the restaurant bit and
Well,
when they're
Adam-
racing underneath when the Ferrari's going underneath the what do you call it bits like they do in Batman.
the train tracks.
Yeah, because the same as what they use in the Nolan's Batman's as well, isn't it? They use Chicago.
If you remember, we did French Connection, and that great car chase, the best thing about the film, was all under the train line in Chicago, remember?
Yeah.
And also, Adam, you know that restaurant, you say Blues Brothers. Did you know that restaurant is the exact same restaurant they used in Blues Brothers?
Yeah,
for
I
that
think
scene?
it's quite a famous restaurant in Chicago. It must be quite famous.
Speaking of how good the adult actors were, how good that maitre d' was. He was very
He
funny.
looks like a cartoon character. I can't remember what cartoon. There's somebody that evil-looking face.
Yes,
like,
he did look like someone.
like Beavis. Is it like Beavis and Butthead kind of?
It may a bit like Beavis. He also reminded me a bit of guy from How I Met Your Mother.
Or Dick, what's it called? Wacky
you mean-
Races.
Oh, Dick Dastardly.
Neil Patrick Harris.
Yes, he looked like Neil
He's
Patrick
like an
Harris.
ugly version of him.
Yes. I thought
Yes,
that was
he
fine.
played the snooty role very well,
Very
and it was very good because the two of the Cameron and Sloane were just like, all right, like you tried it, it's all good. Let's just go somewhere else. And Ferris's absolute determination to get a reservation, and I quite like that because I think on the one hand you can see it as this is just him being super cocky and he just doesn't want to be outdone, but I actually think I really do think that he put a hell of a lot of thought into that day. Like, I feel like he would have been planning that for a long time. And he would have been like, we are going to have a meal at potentially the best restaurant or whatever in Chicago. And I think that's why he was so sort of stubborn and, of course, got his way. Even though they didn't dress for the occasion at all, did they?
No.
Sort of slightly stood out there.
Doesn't matter when you're a sausage king, though, does it?
Well, there we go. Exactly.
Sausage king.
Exactly.
See, all of that stuff, like, you kind of, when you're watching it and you're not completely bought into Ferris, it kind of, like, I feel like you almost need to rewatch it again after you've learnt the Ferris lesson. Like, the first time you watch it, you are Cameron. You get the Ferris lesson, you get the Ferris day, you learn to be a little bit more chilled and easygoing and carefree, to use Adam's word, and then watch it again, and I think you'd probably embrace everything they did more the second time round, that bit more. I think.
Yeah, there definitely is a film you have to learn of what you're getting yourself in for.
As I say, layers. It's definitely got layers to it. It's not obvious. Shall we talk about Ed, who you keep saying is the principal, but is actually the dean?
The dean, sorry.
Same shit, innit?
I know. I always thought he was the principal. But
Jeffrey Jones.
I was also thinking, how does the principal have time to be going off trying to find one kid who's playing hooky?
When you run the ship, you can do whatever the fuck you
But
want.
what is the difference
true.
between a dean and a principal? I thought they were the same thing.
I'll find out for you.
Let's find out. I assumed it meant more that he was just more responsible for attendance and that kind of thing.
A principal typically heads a K-12 educational institution. We don't know what the fuck that is in this country. A dean is an administrator at the college or university.
There we
Okay,
go.
so it's like vice principal or something like that.
Yes.
Yeah, I think he's more just in charge of like the day-to-day practical stuff.
Of the children's.
Yes, indeed, in terms of their attendance.
Well, what of him?
Yes. Thoughts? I mean, you've already said you loved him, but what about you, Adam?
I mean, yeah, it's the enemy, isn't he? He's the anti Ferris. He's the chaos in the middle.
Not only is his comedic timing on everything brilliant, it's needed in this film, which is about everything kind of going all right and going well. And in any good story, you need some drama, something that's fighting
He has no
against
luck.
the good
Ferris
guy.
has all the luck. They are the.
Yes.
And I guess the older you get, the more you want him to get Ferris. Ben was probably cheering him on. That's why he liked him so much.
True, yeah.
In a way, yeah.
He was
The
like,
older
get that little shit.
Come on, Ed.
The older you get, I think everyone starts cheering a little bit for Ed. However, there are many funny things with him.
So many funny things. And proper, like, what's it called? Fist in the mouth moments, which are just so cringy. I love how he screams Grace.
Grace!
Grace!
Yeah, that is funny. Grace! And when he's talking he thinks he's got Ferris, and he's saying to, why don't you send your daughter over here and I'll teach her a fucking lesson, whatever he's saying to him on the phone.
Bring us the corpse of the granddad. And,
The grandma,
bring
yeah.
it right
Yeah.
along, and that'll all be fine.
And he's
then
like, I've got the dad online too. Ferris Bueller's online too.
Ferris Bueller's online too. And it's
the
just
camera
like,
zooms
dun,
in.
dun, dun.
Yes, it's very good. He is very good all the way through it. You do need him in this film.
Yeah, and I think even like anyone could see his perspective for sure. This is a kid who has skived school 9 times.
Yeah.
So you can imagine, almost it's making a mockery of him, right, in terms of what he's trying to do, his job.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like he's taking it personally. Hence why he goes to such great lengths to try and catch him out.
And he embodies what all the adults in this film embody, which is they're all useless or inept or rubbish to some
Ferris has
extent.
got them on the ropes.
Yeah, there isn't a single adult, even his parents who are like sweet, they're suckers.
Oh,
So there isn't a
completely.
single adult who's actually competent in this film.
They
or
just don't think
fulfilling
Ferris
the
would ever
role.
do that.
That's it.
Yeah. And I like the bit when he turns up at the house and Ferris has the recording and he has the whole conversation with the recording and then he comes back and he rings the doorbell and it goes again. He goes, "Who is it?" And he goes, "You know damn well who it is," because he's just had the conversation. That is funny. Yeah, no, he's great. And I also like what I always remembered that at the end of the credits, you've got Ferris Bueller talking to the audience saying, "Go home." But I liked watching it this time, realising that Jeffrey Jones actually makes sure in the theatres back then in '86, when people were in the theatres, most people, when the credits started rolling, would have gotten up and walked out. But because they follow that whole scene of Jeffrey Jones getting onto the school bus, it makes sure that the audience stays seated to the end of the credits so they can have that post-credit scene. And Adam, we were talking about, is this maybe one of the first post-credit scenes that there ever was?
Must have been, yeah. I don't want to say
can't
it's
imagine any
post-credit.
Marvel
It's not
reveals
really
before that.
post-credit, is it? It's a sequence in the credits that ends with that. It's not like you watch. It's not like it's gone to black. Watch it all and then there's something at the end.
Yeah.
And what about that music?
That iconic 80s music.
Day bow bow.
Yeah.
It's so iconic. Love it.
Bada swing.
See, that batter swing I didn't like. There was and that's such a minor thing, but because you've brought it up, I was annoyed when Cameron did that.
It's just like a little soundbite. That's one of the things that's stuck in my head.
I know. That's
I think is
batter, swing
is it
batter.
like just a generic baseball thing, or is it?
The Yanks will tell us. The Yanks who listen will tell us, I'm sure.
Yes.
Yeah, I couldn't possibly say. But yes, we haven't talked about. Is it Jeannie? Jeannie Bueller?
Yes.
Yeah.
Ferris's sister.
Baby.
Nobody
Yes.
puts Jeannie and Baby in the corner.
Well, indeed. What are our thoughts on her?
Very realistic. I like her a lot. She was, to use Adam's analogy, Lisa Simpson.
No, she was, yeah. Maybe this is where the Simpsons came from.
Yeah, it might have been.
But I like how she stands up for him at the end still. She's still kind of... That's like that Ferris effect, isn't it? Of, I will always... He will never
Yes.
win. He will
Well-
always win. He'll always get one over on people, like... That's probably...
She has
charisma.
learned that Ferris lesson by the end when she sat there with Charlie Sheen
Yeah.
in the prison and she's resisting it, but then she listens to Charlie Sheen, and actually that's the first time that she's had to like stop and slow down in the movie and just sit there.
Yeah.
When you're forced to stop, you have your clarity, and then she starts singing that song, whatever that song is that Ferris was singing on the float. She starts singing it as she goes down the stairs, again reaffirming that idea that Ferris isn't real, he's just an idea. He is
Yeah.
Tyler Durden. You're right. He is
gotta
Tyler
be.
Durden. But I liked her and empathised with her, and even she had growth in the way that Ferris didn't. Her character had an arc.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, I actually really like the sister, and I like the lesson that, of all people, what's his face? I just said Charlie Sheen. Of all
Yeah.
people, it's this drug dealer in the... It wasn't the prison, it was the police station, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This drug dealer guy who's like totally out of it, you could just tell. And she sat there and she's so like, almost like, don't even start, you know, I've got this figured out. She's just so full of anger and frustration. And then it's this randomer, you know, the worst, like, last person that you could think of, who literally just says to her, the problem is you. And it's so perfect because she so wants to fight that, but then she's forced to think, you know, where is all this coming from, this anger, this frustration? Like, is it really what Ferris is doing, or is it just how she's perceiving it? Because she's perceiving it as, how come he always gets away with everything? How come he just gets life easy? How come I have to be in school? But as he puts it, he's just like, you know, really, whatever he is doing, it's got nothing to do with you. Why are you making it about you? And she's just literally like, it's like a penny drops. And I quite like that, because a lot of the time we do linger, especially on other people, when actually, you know, maybe we need to stop doing that and just focus on ourselves.
Exactly, Adam. Stop worrying about what I'm doing and just concentrate on your own shit, all right?
But yeah, I also love the things that everybody just knows who Ferris is. It's just like there's that
Oh my
is quite
God.
that's such a funny little.
I
Even the
know.
police, so it's like, wish. Can you give your brother my wishes? It's like,
And like they've got Save Ferris everywhere, haven't they? Like
Yeah.
even on the water tower. Like
Yeah.
that's just hilarious.
I know, but see, that's the kind of stuff that didn't quite fit for me.
oh, you're so miserable,
It's
Ben.
like,
you need
come
some
on.
Ferris in you.
Look, we've spoken about what's it called, Ted Lasso.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good
and
comparison.
Ted Lasso, you know, to begin with, especially with Ben, it was driving me up the wall because he was just like, "This is just not real life. This is silly."
Are you still watching
And
Ted
then
Lasso?
We
Yeah.
are. Don't spoil it. But then, as we've kind of gone along with the seasons, both of us, but especially
Yeah.
Ben, has had to just actually embrace the fairy tale nature of it.
And then
that-
once you get involved with it,
and then you get hooked, right? So I think you kind of need to see this film in that way because,
Yeah.
of course, it is just one day, and a lot of the stuff that happens is obviously,
Yes.
you know, it is all kind of silly and unrealistic. And you know, where does, for example, where does Ferris finance all this stuff? Like he has a wad of cash.
wad of
Like where does
cash,
that
yeah.
come from? You know, there's quite a few things.
It's
But I
his
just
kidney
think,
fund.
Yeah.
yeah, maybe. But I think, yeah, to a certain degree, you're supposed to kind of, yeah, not focus on that stuff too much. Let it go.
And yes, the fact what I could have done with a bit more of to help me with the ridiculous idea of Save Ferris everywhere was a little bit more surrealness to it, such as very good scene, but I needed more of it when they leave the restaurant and his dad is right outside with those two businessmen. And they are literally there, standing slightly above him, and he starts having that conversation with the camera, and then they slide into that cab while his back's
Yeah.
turned. A bit more of that throughout would have helped, made it a bit easier for me to buy the other stuff.
But
like
there was, you know, as you said yourself at the end of the film, he actually encounters his dad multiple times.
yes, he
He's
does.
using
yeah.
the same bathroom in the restaurant, so he's in the toilet, he comes out, the dad then comes out, then they're about to get into the same cab. Then he's out on the street with doing the twist and shout, and his dad is literally up in his office,
Twisting and
essentially,
shouting.
yeah, and essentially seeing Ferris without realizing he's seeing Ferris. So there's quite a bit of that, you know, stuff that is a bit, yeah, beyond chance. Same as with the Ferrari, you know, the two guys who have nabbed it and had a joyride, you know, they literally come back at that perfect moment just as they arrive to pick
Yes.
up the car. So there's actually, I think, yeah, there's quite a lot of that sort of stuff, personally. But you needed more.
No, there was fine. A little bit more, just a little bit more of that surreal humour, which Hughes does. A good example, my favourite John Hughes film, is Planes, Trains and Automobiles. And
Over
that,
Home Alone.
Well, John Hughes directed Planes, Trains. If we're talking about what he's directing, that's what I mean. Home Alone wins, obviously, but Planes, Trains directing, there's a good mix of... The ridiculous thing is they're on this road trip together, and it's a ridiculous concept anyway, but then they keep interspersing it with silly things like seeing skeletons and demons when they're driving and all sorts of stuff. Anyway, a little bit more in this, but he went on to do that, so maybe he took a little bit of a learning from this and applied it to that. As for the big parade scene, here's my big culminating point. I think that for viewers, you're meant to see that parade scene and suddenly be filled with the Christmas spirit, essentially, and like, oh, joyful, come on, let's all go and dance in the street. Ferris is great, come on, be alive. Because everyone in the film and in the scene at that point
Especially
is
in the
loving
twist
it.
and shout bit at the end.
But it drives me fucking mental because I
Do you
think
know
you're
one
so
thing-
cocky, Ferris, and also I don't buy into this whole town just suddenly loving this. People would be like, "Get the fuck off the float! You don't belong here. You're holding up the street."
Yeah. Do you know one thing that I think lets that down a little bit is the fact that he's mouthing it. If he was actually singing it, I think it would help with the charisma of it.
No,
But
there you
because
go.
he's mouthing it, and I think it's a little bit, it seems a little bit out of sync, so a little bit jarring when he's mouthing it. I think it loses a dash of the charisma for me.
Do you get the Christmas spirit when he's doing it?
I don't get I get the summer spirit,
I was going to say, I know what you mean when you say Christmas spirit,
You know
but
what I
you
mean.
mean
the
like
infectiousness.
Yes.
the like loving life, embracing life, like, yeah, being in the moment.
I get it from all the other bits, that the learnings along the way, but that whole parade scene feels slightly contrived to the point of, I don't really buy
I feel
this.
like, in a way, though, it's Ferris's, because I feel like that's quite
That's the
near
end
the
of
end.
his big day.
Exactly.
That's the end of his day in
it's
the
like
city.
his final kind of hurrah, his final kind of like trying to hammer the nail in terms of Cameron, come on, man, like, wake up, you know. Everything that he's done up until that point has been like, there's this to experience in life, there's this to experience in life.
And it's
Look,
also
all
when
the
Cameron's
stuff.
most annoyed at him as well. He's left us, he's gone back to school.
Exactly. You know, he really, Cameron still wants to hold on to that kind of negative, pessimistic attitude of like, oh yeah, I knew he would do that, da da da. And then bang, you know, he comes out, you know, all guns blazing, you know, all the other stuff that's going on. And I think it is just, yeah, obviously it's a bit silly, very silly and a bit extreme, but yeah, it's the last kind of big number,
yes, it
you know,
is, yeah.
to kind of make his point. Yeah.
Well, the only time that Ferris becomes unlucky is with those guys who drive the Ferrari around, and it's almost like another person who has a lust for life that knocks back his life. And I mean, to put
But even
3,000
that's
miles,
Cameron.
put 3,000 miles in a car in a day is impossible.
Yeah, but Adam, I said that to Jenny at the time. It's not 3,000. It's 300, and then it's the final digit is a sort of, you know, when it
No,
starts
it's 300. It's 3,000, isn't it?
Mate, who's driving 3,000 miles
It's
in a
meant to
day?
be over the top and stupid, Ben. It's not meant to be. It's
Oh
just like
my
an
God.
obscene number that they've put on.
That's like me driving between here and Glastonbury 10 times.
Yeah, you'd be driving to like, I don't know, Cairo or something.
I mean, in a way, it's kind of irrelevant in truth, because when they take the car out, as Cameron says, his dad knows the mileage by however much.
Yeah, to the nth degree.
So even them driving into the centre of Chicago and back, which is all they use the car for, like, the dad was still going to be able to see that the mileage had gone up. So whether it was, I mean, obviously if it's 3,000, that's, you know, very worrying.
Sierra Leone is 3,000 miles away. Baghdad is approximately 3,000 miles away
There you go.
from
Well, there
London.
you go. There we go.
Maybe there was more surreal shit in there than I realised.
I figured it was 300, and 300 is like me going to Norwich and back, and then some. So I don't know, but either way, it's, you know, they've probably done maybe 20 miles, if that, 10 or 20 miles. So
Yeah.
even if it was 300, that would break Cameron as it does.
And in what world did they think reversing the car would actually make the clocks go, the mileage
It's
go
just that
up it?
stupid, innocent side of life. It's the
Yeah.
Yeah, but even when they said that, I did think, oh, does it? Would that happen?
no, of
Maybe
course it
would.
doesn't. You're still putting mileage on whether you're going forward or backwards.
Well, there we go.
But yes, I mean that is then that pivotal moment in the film, isn't it, where you know, he's kicking the car, which obviously in itself is like a huge deal. You know, this is, I think, as he puts it, his dad's baby.
Yes.
His
Yeah.
car.
He loves
that's
it more
so-
than life.
And then
Yes.
then Bueller, the best Bueller line apart from the iconic one is anyone who holds such values doesn't deserve such a fine
Automobile.
Yeah, because that's true.
And he also says you can't respect someone who kisses your ass, which
That's
is
true.
another great line and a very good saying. You know, this is what Cameron has always been doing, and he needs to wake up.
And that's why he respects Cameron, actually, because Cameron doesn't kiss his ass. Everyone else kisses Bueller's ass, but Cameron doesn't. So there's a reason that Cameron's his best friend.
There we go. Maybe there you go. Yeah. So everyone loves Ferris, but does he love everyone else?
No.
No.
And that's why he probably actually respects the Dean.
Does he respect the dude?
Ow.
In a
What are
way,
you
he
biting me
respects
for?
his game. He
Ouch.
respects the fact that he's up against it.
Stop biting.
Oh, is that Mocha?
He's just come under the table and he's starting to bite me.
Look,
he's
the animals, they just want to get involved.
The
He's getting a bit
Get
playful
involved.
now. He's getting a bit restless.
Oh, wow. Well, we shan't be too much longer, shall
No,
we?
well, I feel like we're getting towards the end here broadly. Anyway, I just want to say,
Well,
as
I had a question, actually.
yes,
Go for it. Stop,
So-
stop with the biting. We can have cuddles, but we can't bite.
Don't talk to Chelsea that way.
Yeah, my question was actually, so to spoil the ending, this beautiful, and I love cars, by the way, I've driven a Ferrari, so to see this Ferrari fly through this glass, and of course, you
It
know, go
hurts.
crashing down into the
Also,
the
it's
trees
savable.
below.
It lands
Is
on that
it?
net. It lands on that net thing, doesn't it?
No, it doesn't, does it?
I for some reason thought it landed on like a big net.
No, that would be convenient. No, I mean, I'm pretty sure that car was
Lands
a
in the
write-off,
woods.
to
That
be
would be
honest.
Ferris's luck.
Like, especially with a car that expensive, just trying to repair it, it wouldn't almost be worth it.
Also,
but,
I'm sure his dad would love repairing it again if he enjoyed it so much one time.
Don't know about that. Well, that's my question, actually. So what do we think happens after that? What do we think happens to Cameron? He says he wants to take a stand. He said that actually, no, this is good.
I mean, yeah, that is a little
But
thing
what
of like
actually
he
happens?
just gets in the shit. Maybe he stands up to his dad, and his dad respects him for it, or I don't know. He leaves and he becomes his own man. Like he gets kicked out of the house and he becomes his own person.
That's the ideal, and hopefully that happens.
Well, that he gets kicked out.
No, that he becomes his own man,
Becomes
and his
his own
dad
man.
respects him for doing it. However, it's a definite thing that John Hughes leaves it there. He's like, we're gonna have a little talk, and then it slow zooms on his face, and then we never hear from Cameron again. That's good, because it's like it doesn't matter, because what matters is Cameron is going to stand up to his dad, and it will probably go badly. It will almost certainly go badly.
I think it would be, pretty
but
horrific. However, it's far better than what his reality was prior.
Yes.
And then actually, whatever happens, Cameron's actually, for the first day in his life, probably he's going to be okay.
That's true. And it's a good thing. The whole thing is optimistic and uplifting, despite, you're annoying, but that's the thing. Adam, you were annoying at Glastonbury, but also it was you needed someone like that, and you weren't really annoying. Don't take that to heart. I don't mean it like that. I mean your unbridled energy at all times was like, what the fuck? When's this guy going to?
This is tired. I'm on a 5-day bender, and I don't need someone waking me up.
Yeah, but you need someone like
you
that.
wanted your coffee and your juice.
Yes, and Jenny, you're the same. To have that sort of like, you can stay doom and gloom. I like doom and gloom. I like that it's part of my personality, and that's the truth. I do have a doom and gloom personality, but I like it. I embrace it. I actually enjoy it for a lot of things, because I'm much more critical about things, whereas other people can be taken advantage of. Adam's been taken advantage of many times, and I've had to steer him right. And but I like that. But I like the learning from this. I like what he represents, like Batman. And here's a throwback for Paul, if he's listening, which he is, because he's editing this. He is like a Batman type character. It's not about the man, it's about what he represents, and what he represents here is very uplifting in a way that I was not expecting.
Oh, wow. I'm happy to hear that. And to do the quote again, life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it. I just think that's such an important message, and I think it's a message that most of us need to hear repeatedly, because I think our go-to is to get stuck in our routines, in our structure, in what we normally do, and things that we think would be nice to do, or things that we think would be fun or would be interesting. Most of us, I think, just kind of go, we'll get around to that, maybe next year, or maybe when I've saved up enough money, or da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And I just think sometimes, we do just take for granted that, we do actually have a limited time, on this planet, and lots of things can change. And that, actually, it's just made me think of Ben's had a family member pass away recently. She turned 90, which is amazing, obviously, to get to that age. And we were at her 90th birthday party, and we said to her, any words of wisdom? And what did she say?
And she said, if you want to do something, just do it. Do it.
Don't waste your time.
Don't wait for your health to fail. And that was all
she said. She didn't say anything that you would usually expect somebody to say. She just literally was like, if you want to do something, go and do it. And I just think most of us, we don't. Even small things, we'll just be like, no, it's fine. It's just like, ultimately, I think life is...
Take Cliff Richard's advice as well.
Who?
Cliff Richard's
Oh my
advice.
God, please.
He said it in a completely wrong way.
Oh God, I can't even comment on that, to be fair.
I didn't see you making that connection, Adam.
I mean, he did try and spin it at the end, didn't he? Yeah, if you wanna, do something, do it. But stop making excuses. Stop assuming that that's something that you can do next year or the year before, a year later.
Yeah.
If you can somehow make it happen now, do it. I think just, it doesn't apply all the time. And of course, we do all have restrictions on our lives. And, sometimes there isn't anything that we can do. But there are many times when actually we could do something. And like going to an art museum, or going, to a ball game, whatever. Like these things aren't necessarily massively expensive, but they are enriching experiences. How many times do we deny ourselves that and put it off?
Well, you've got health. Health is wealth.
There we go.
Health is wealth. And
definitely means more as you get older as well.
It's very true. And I think that all of us talking now, I think we're very good at, if we want to do something, we do it. I don't think we hold ourselves back from it. I think we do it, and that needs to be a lesson to everyone, all the listeners out there.
You can make more money, you can't make more time.
Yes, exactly. Money will cut, and that's true. Even though everyone always talks about not having money, and it is true. It's fucking hard right now for everyone, but it is true. Money will come back. Memories won't. You get one chance to make that memory.
Youth doesn't. Whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, it's memories. Life is all about making memories, and if you're going to create a memory, you should do that thing.
But also experiencing in the moment as well.
And experiencing in the moment. Yes, but you have to experience in the moment to create the memory.
Yes, I think both.
And you have to have a memory to create a moment.
All of that stuff.
All that stuff.
Anyway, before we get to our wrap-up comments here, I just want to quote Ben Stein, or Ben Steen.
Ben Stiller.
No. This is Ben Steen, who plays the teacher at the beginning of the film, the one who's reading all the names from the register.
Fry.
Bueller, anybody, anyone.
Yeah.
That's very funny anyway. They're very funny. When we learn about the Romans and they went to the anyone, they went to the... That's very funny. But he was not a professional actor at the time. He was in movies subsequently after, but he was not a professional actor. He was a maths teacher. And John Hughes found him and he said, "You're perfect. I want you to just be yourself as you are in class. Come in and do this line reading."
That's why it's so relatable.
But he said, let me get this here now. He called it, when he saw the film after it was released, the most life-affirming movie possibly of the entire post-war period. And I think that captures it in a nutshell. So in 86, 42 years after the end of World War II, he's saying that was the most life-affirming movie that he had seen. And on an initial, for me personally, and here this is just going to lead into my out of 10. For me personally, I think that's what I bridle against at first. It's incredibly life-affirming overall, and I typically don't gravitate towards those films. However, I found my avenues into it, which are the Cameron stuff, the life lesson of Bueller overall, the fact that he isn't a man, he's an ideal, plus all the people around him who are struggling and suffering, adults and his sister and whatnot, who by the end sort of like, you see where they're at. It all culminates in a lesson and something that's very heartwarming and optimistic to take forward. Plus, it is elevated because it is one of your, Jenny, favourite films, and seeing you enjoy it is what it's all about, because if it's making you so happy, it makes me happy too, and it's part of the life lesson. So, Ferris Bueller's Day Off gets an 8 out of 10 from me.
Aww.
And that was a 6 out of 10 beforehand.
Oh, wow.
So that's a 2-point jump.
It's been bumped up. Well, very sweet. I will take that.
I'm going to keep it at a 9. It was a 9 before. I thought it might have gone to an 8 on this halfway through, but it stays at a 9 for me.
Oh, sweet. Wasn't expecting that.
Oh.
Very good. I give it a 9 too. I know that's surprising.
That is.
You know, 10s are rare, and 10s are for the, absolute perfect films. And it's between a 9 and a 10. But I'm realistic. I give it a solid 9.
Solid 9. Well, we got one more person to share their score. He has sent the voice memo over.
Wait.
So let's hear what Paul has to say about Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Hello, everybody. Sorry I couldn't be there today. Thank you, Jenny, for standing in for me. And, well, not standing in for me. You're supposed to be in there anyway. I'm the one who flaked out. Sorry. One day we will be united and all record together for something. That'll be wonderful. But today we're talking about Ferris Bueller's Day Off. And I'm going to say, as far as I'm concerned, this should be called Cameron Fry's day off, because he is the star of the show for me. He is absolutely wonderful, the heart of the film for me. And let's face it, Ferris, he's a bit of a prick. You know, he drags Cameron into these situations, and he's just a good friend who just goes along with it, and he just gets pulled in, and he's the one who has to handle the backlash most of the time. But it is a fantastic film. It is so rewatchable. It fills me with like love and energy when I watch it. It's just so great, and it's a bloody 9 out of 10 from me. Hope you had a wonderful episode, and I'll see you next time, everyone.
Hey, fantastic.
Very
yes.
good.
One of these days, I would like to be on the podcast with all three of you.
One of these days, you will get on the podcast with Paul. Just as soon as he decides that he has stopped disliking you, clearly.
I'm trying not to take it personally, Paul.
Well, there we go. So Paul had exactly the same thoughts as we all had.
Yep, can't disagree with that at all.
Can't disagree with it, apart from I don't quite share in the exact same love that everyone else does. But this is big time. Are you listening closely, Adam?
It's going high up, isn't it?
It's going high up. That's 3 9s and an 8. The average score for that is 8.75. Right?
Is it a unique score, wouldn't it?
It's not a unique score, but we have 6 films that are 8.75, and actually that rounds up to an 8.8 in our charts, I should say. What that means is it could potentially break into the top 20 depending on if we think it's better or worse than the films that I'm about to list. Now, the first film is RoboCop. RoboCop is the 21st film on our list. For me personally, RoboCop is a 9, so it can't beat RoboCop. Does it beat RoboCop for you?
Yes.
It beats RoboCop for you. And Paul gives RoboCop an 8, so that means that now it's got a battle with Dr. Sleep. I think Dr. Sleep is better than this.
I think this is better than Dr. Sleep.
Paul gives Dr. Sleep a 10. So that means... Hang on a minute. Just wait a minute. Backwards on what I said. This is better than Dr. Sleep. This is better than Dr. Sleep. Only fractionally, and only because I've learned so much on several watches, because I remember how I felt about Dr. Sleep. So it's definitely in our top 20. King of Comedy is better for my money.
Oh, comedy, yeah, King of Comedy is better than this.
Okay, well that's where it ends. But that's very respectable, because now that is our 20th. In our top 20, it is our 20th entry.
I will take that. That's pretty good.
There we go. So that's big news, people. We got a new
Exciting.
top 20. Now, before we let Jenny go, she's got one final bit of business that she has to do. Since she's a guest on the podcast, she's allowed to throw her score out of 10 to any of the films that we have on this list. So, let's see if she's going to cause some dilemmas, some dramas here.
Well, so, of course, I had a decision. Do I either bump up a film that I like a lot, or do I bring down a film that I
forgot you got to do this.
that I take exception to? Now, there are 2 films that I had in mind, and I'll mention them both, but of course I will only change the score of one.
Yes.
So the one that I was considering potentially bringing down was Candyman 2021. What's the current score?
high up?
What's the current score for
I
Candyman?
feel like we all disliked that. Candyman is currently...
I thought it was pretty medium in the pack, innit?
Candyman's got a 6.7. It's pretty low.
That is pretty low. However...
I mean, it is shit.
I mean, yeah. You guys obviously did a podcast on it and you talked about it, and I'm certainly not going to talk about it in any great depth, but it's one of the rare films that I've watched at the cinema. Within about 30 minutes, I was completely out of this film because it irritated me so much. And as a lover of the original, the disappointment that I had was just huge, to the point that when I finally came out of the cinema, I was just angry, to be honest.
You were a lot more angry than I was. I was willing to give it more credit.
Oh, yeah, no, there's so much wrong with it. I just felt like the substance had completely gone, and the original had so much to say. But anyway, I'm not going to go down that road. I'm going to choose to bring a film up.
Good.
And to be honest,
that's what we're here for.
There we go, of course. And this film, as far as I remember, I think you all scored fairly highly, but there's no harm in giving it a little bit more love, and that is Deep Cover.
Oh, very good. Deep Cover. I feel like Adam was the one who disliked it the most.
I don't feel like any of you disliked it, but I think, my memory is that I think you and Paul had a bit more love for it.
Yes.
What's the score?
Well, Adam, so on our overall charts, it has a solid 8, but I gave it a 9, and Paul gave it... Oh, yeah, because Paul gave it a 7. It was Paul who disliked it the most. Yeah.
Okay.
Paul gave it a 7, Adam gave it an 8. So it's at an 8 at the moment. What are you going to give it?
Well, just to, throw a bit of a spanner in the works, I'm going to give it a 10.
Well, that's what we like to hear. And do you know what? That is a fucking great film. So it deserves the bump.
How long ago was it that we watched it?
Like 2 months ago?
Yeah, it's still so vivid in my head. It's still so real. There's so much stuff I could say about that film that I just think is just pure genius. But of course, you've referenced it several times, that particular scene with Larry Fishburne, as he was called in that film, screaming in the car and then shooting the guy in the arse and then flying out the car. Just that scene alone.
I thought Ben loved it, let alone
oh
you're going involved in it.
Oh no, we both laughed out loud at that moment.
That's why we married each other.
But it's such a good film, and it's such a unique film. So I just wanted to give that film a bit more love.
Well, that's very good, because what that does is it takes it from an 8 in our charts, which is sort of like down at around about 70. It brings it up to an 8.5, which
it's crazy that
brings it up to about 35.
Being like mid-table obscurity.
I know. And I believe what that means is me, you and Paul now need to place it with our other 8.5s, Adam. The first film it's going to battle against is El Camino. It's better than El Camino.
It's not for me.
It's not for you because you fucking love that Breaking Bad shit. And I'm pretty sure Paul gave El Camino an 8, so I think it might sit below that, but we'll confirm when Paul's on the next episode. But very well done bringing Deep Cover higher up on the charts. We appreciate that.
Had to be done.
10 out of 10 as well. Wow.
10 out of 10. Hey, I could be compelled. The Prince Charles Cinema, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, listed Deep Cover on several times, not long after we dropped the podcast. I feel like they must listen to us quite a bit.
You going to go see it?
No. So, without further ado, I guess we were going to say goodbye to you now, and thank you for bringing Ferris Bueller to the podcast.
Oh, well,
yes.
Thank you very much, and it's been fun. Thank you.
This is your third time on a podcast.
It is. I feel very privileged. It's always good.
Has this been the best film we've covered?
It's got to be, obviously. Although
it's got to be Jaws 2.
Yeah, you know what? Jaws 2 and I'm totally blanked the name of the other one.
One Night in Miami.
One Night in Miami. One Night in Miami was brilliant. So actually, I've loved
different
talking
reasons.
about all these films. Yeah, very different reasons. But yeah, it's very nice to talk about a film that is so close to my heart. So thank you, guys.
I know. And I'm now can stop being nervous, as I have been for the past month, since I thought, am I going to bring up Ferris Bueller and how am I going to destroy a film that you love so much? But I didn't destroy it. We had a very good conversation about it, and I ended up loving it more than ever before.
Oh, well, there you go.
So that was good. Well, thank you very, very much. Adam, we will say goodbye to Jenny here.
Yes.
And you
goodbye,
and I
Jenny.
will wrap up the episode.
See ya.
Pleasure.
Thank you very, very much. So, listeners and Adam, shall we wrap up 1986?
Yes.
Let's do so by talking about... Well, I'll tell you what we'll do first. Paul has sent me his... Because what we do now that we're at the end of 1986, is we talk about our best scene, best character and best line from films in 1986.
Yeah.
I will play the voice memos Paul sent through first, and then we can add our own, yeah?
Yep.
All right, so here we go. Here's Paul's voice memos, everyone.
I am going to tie all of my best bits together. The best character, the best scene, and the best line all go to The Fly. It's not the best film, but it is by far the most surprising that I came back and realised I loved it more than I actually did. It is the moment, the Fly politics moment, And there's that whole segment, but the line I love the most is an insect who dreamt he was a man. That segment, beautiful, amazing. What a film! Oh yes, and Brundle. Yes, Brundle is the ultimate character of 1986. Thank you.
Would you agree with that, Adam?
I mean, he does talk about it a lot, so I think so. I mean, that's not going to be my one. I think character-wise for me, I know we just talked about how much of a dick he was, but I think Ferris has got to be as an actual character and maybe about what he actually stood for and what the meaning of his character was. I think probably sums it up the best.
Well, there we go. My favourite character will probably be David Byrne.
Really?
No, not a fucking chance.
I'm about
do you
to
know what?
say.
You know what? My favourite character, I'm going to go...
This is
yes. No, I'm going to go with Brundle. It has to be Brundlefly. That's my favourite character as well. Definitely. Hands down. I was about to say Cameron, but it is Brundle.
I was thinking Cameron as a
Cameron's a
person,
close second.
But as a thing, it's Ferris. I think Ferris is a bit more than the character.
Yes, he's an idea, as we established.
Okay.
What about your favourite line then?
Favourite line? I'm going to go to True Stories on this. And the line where he says, "We're dancing where the dinosaurs once stood." I quite like that. As I said, as the snippets and stuff came from that film, it was quite something beautifully poetic about that. And I quite like it.
I'm glad that you said a line from True Stories. I was considering, I personally believe I can see Fort Worth from here, because it's such a fucking ridiculous line.
You love the ridiculous ones. It's always like your cake and eat it, and then...
I know. In a way, I want that to be the line. And I thought I would actually... Like, the honest answer is, I also agree with Paul. I'm saying I'm an insect who dreamt he was a man and loved it, but now the dream is over and the insect is awake. But David Byrne, close second. But I think I have a very unique, different scene to everyone else. Favourite scene. What's your favourite scene?
Oh, you say yours, because I'm thinking.
Well, my favourite scene goes to Aliens, and it is the scene where Ripley is with Newt in the alien nest, and all the eggs are around her, and the Queen comes down, laying the eggs,
firing the shit out of everything.
Yes,
that's what I was thinking
iconic.
In my head, but then I didn't know if it was a bit too just action, fun, and blowing.
Oh, mate,
up,
it's iconic. It's absolutely iconic.
That's what I was. Yeah, I don't know actually. Oh, fuck it, I'll say the same as well then.
He said the same. There we go. And that brings us to an end of 1986. Adam, we're going to 1973.
Yes, and was it
in the
was
next
it
round?
Grand Bouffe?
Le Grand Bouffe. Le Grand Bouffe. French film, recommended by our dear patron Luke Human. He is sending us to 1973.
Done a year with us?
It's the first time he's suggested a year from scratch, but he has brought Night of the Living Dead, the remake, to us before.
Yes.
So it's not his first pick, but this is the first time he's kicked off a round, and I'm looking forward to 1973. I've already seen Le Grand Bouffe. I won't say anything about it, but you're in for a feast.
Literally, metaphorically.
All of that stuff. Maybe don't eat before watching it is all I'd say. Or after it, or ever again. So, listeners, thank you for listening. Very quickly before we go, let's shout out our dear patrons. We need to say welcome back and hello to our dear patron Sean Panda Nicholson.
Yes. He's come back from everything. He's back on Letterboxd as well, I believe. I don't know if he ever left, but I've seen him back on there.
Amazing.
So
We've
he's
missed
watching
him. I understand wanting to leave
Christmas
socials. He's watching what?
All of his awful Christmas films.
Oh, good. I hope so.
Yes. We also have Jason Clarkson.
We have
Who's
Luke
also come
Bennett.
back.
Yes, he's come back. It's a great return. Everyone's coming back from the dead like Jesus.
Christmas presents to each other.
Just like Jesus.
Jesus.
Luke Bennett is also with us. He never died. He was always here.
Yes, we also have Francis Cibarini with us.
Steve and Mark, they are with us, even though one of them looks like Jesus / Charles Manson.
You also have Brent from Home Video Hustle.
You do. You have Luke Human. We shouted him out already. We're shouting him out again.
You're doing next year. We have Nerd Revert.
We have Julio, who's also from Texas. Nerd Revert ain't from Texas anymore, but Julio still is.
Yes, and considering the OGs in our group, Jamie Russell, who kicked off this year, who we now rounded it up for him.
Yes, indeed. Thank you for that, Jamie. And who could close out the round of patron shout-outs without shouting it from the rooftop? We got Katie and Oti. Much love to all of you. Thank you for being patrons. If you want to join them, you can join them. And last but not least, before we go, we're going to give you a couple of patron recommendations straight from the mouths of our patrons. So yes, patrons get a chance to shout out what they've been watching recently. Julio says, the best finally caught up with the Oscar-nominated All Quiet on the Western Front. Not much in the way of character or story, but as a brutal portrayal of the horrors of war, it was really good. I couldn't make it past 20 minutes of it, you know. I'm sure it is good.
The ending has stuck with me quite a bit. The ending is so harrowing. I was watching 1917 the other day, and for some reason I thought that's how 1917 ended, but then I remembered it was...
he falls asleep on the tree.
Yes, but All Quiet on the Western Front has a... Yes. It is worth it. It is a slog. I mean, I watched it on a plane, because I was like, I had a 3-hour plane journey. What's the best time to watch a 3-hour German film when you can't really be...
Mate, the last thing I'd want to do on a plane is watch a subtitled film.
So I think it's the best, because it means you're more focused on your concentration.
Well, maybe you erratic cunt. And the worst film, Killers of the Flower Moon. What was Marty thinking, he says. And then he says, just kidding, because he knows he would get lamped on. He says, I watched the original Friday the 13th for the first time. I appreciate its place in history, but it's not what I would call timeless. It's a very bad film. It's a very bad film. It spawned some good... Well, it didn't even spawn good sequels. It spawned a good killer.
Yeah. The killer is more famous than the films.
There you go.
But,
so thank you, Julio. What's Jamie been watching, Adam?
So Jamie Russell says, I would recommend checking out Ravenous. Not Carlisle, the cannibal one, but the Netflix hidden gem. I was very impressed. It's a zombie film, but it's filmed in a very European style, which makes it feel unique. It will keep you guessing, and it has me wanting to watch it again, possibly trying to understand the surreal conclusion, which was another surprise. Give it a go. I mean, what more could you want?
Very good. Hey, the Ravenous one with Carlisle as a cannibal is very good, but this one also sounds interesting.
I like the sound of the other bits of it, the surrealism and the not American style, maybe.
Excellent. That is excellent. I'm all for that. Well, thanks, patrons. Thanks for that. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being here in another round. Thanks to our guest, Adam. Thank you for joining us also.
Yes. Thank you to Jenny for joining us, who's probably just sitting on the other side of the room to you now, isn't she?
She is. Thanks to Mocha and Maximus for their guest pet appearances too.
Mocha did try taking me offline, but we made it past it.
You made it through. And that's it. So remember, everyone, life is moving pretty fast, and if you don't stop and slow down once in a while, you might miss it.
Put the podcast down and go outside.
Exactly. Go outside now.
Cancel that subscription to our Patreon and spend it on a holiday.
No. Keep the Patreon subscription going. You can keep that. Everything else you can leave and walk away from, but keep that going, please. And we'll see you in 73.
Fieldbuster.